Hi, I'm Charlie, and this is Stereo Hysteria. Our December artist of the month, Richard X. Heyman, is a musician based in New York City who has been writing and recording melodic, heartfelt, and immaculately crafted pop music as a solo artist since the 1980s. He started out as a drummer, cutting his teeth in the mid-60s with New Jersey garage rockers the Doughboys. But his skills as a multi-instrumentalist led him to become an in-demand session player with rock legends, playing guitar with Mary Weiss, keyboard with Benny King, and drums with Link Wray and Brian Wilson. He began his solo career in the 1980s, recording nearly all the instruments on a Tascam 8-track for the 1986 EP Actual Size and the 1988 LP Living Room, which led to contracts with major labels. Since then, he has released over a dozen solo albums on his own label, Turn Up Records. Most recently, this year's 67,000 Miles an album. He also reunited with the Doughboys in 2000, releasing 6 killer albums, which quickly became staples on Little Steven's underground garage. Stereo Hysteria spoke with Richard from his home in New York City, and we'll be hearing that conversation over the next hour. But we'll begin with the lead-off track from his 2002 album, Basic Bleed, called Everywhere She Goes.
Days blur inside here before I came to see what I had done. Now tomorrow's hard to steer because her head's unclear to everyone under the sun.
I'd like to kind of start off at the very beginning. I like to kind of ask about your upbringing from a musical standpoint.
Okay.
Did you have a particularly musical family? Did your parents listen to music or play music? Did you have any musically inclined siblings?
The family did not play music directly. They listened to music.
Okay.
There were no actual musicians. My father claimed he played the trumpet when he was a young man. I never heard of it. But there was no musicianship in the family. I had some cousins that were musicians. So there was some sort of musicality in the heritage, but a lot of listening. Okay. So we had a really eclectic record collection in the house, which I absorbed. And there was AM radio in the New York area, so that was mainly WABC. And so I listened to a lot of top 40 radio, but mainly it was records and TV. There were a lot of variety shows on TV back then. So there's constantly different acts performing, so I got to hear all kinds of jazz and classical music as well as rock and roll. So I've just soaked it all in.
And when did you start playing an instrument yourself? Did you start on drums?
I did. I just knew that I should play the drums. I don't know why. It must have been from seeing it on TV and then listening to my father's jazz albums, especially Gene Krupa and Benny Goodman.
Yeah.
And as a 5-year-old kid, I just said, I think I could do that. I want to do that. I kept asking my parents, can I get drums? Can I get drums? And they didn't want to spend the money on a drum set for a 5-year-old kid. So they got me some bongos and they got me a little snare drum. And then they used to make these kind of toy drum sets. The skins were made out of paper and I just kind of bashed right through them in a few days. So eventually when I was 7 years old, they got me a Kent drum set. That was the name of the brand. It was a nice marine pearl 4-piece set. And I sat down and I just knew how to play. It was kind of freaky. And I played right-handed, even though I'm left-handed.
Okay, interesting.
So I eat and write left-handed, but I play all musical instruments and sports right-handed. Kind of a form of being ambidextrous, not quite.
And have you noticed playing right-handed as a left-hander? Is there sort of like a Ringo Starr type, like a rhythmic? I
never really thought about it until I heard him talk about that.
Okay.
But it's possible. I mean, I just play, I don't really think about it so much. And maybe that's built into being left-handed and playing right-handed. Basically, what Ringo talks about is his fills, where he does these unique fills because he's playing the opposite way that he should be.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm doing the same. But, for me, playing fills on the drums is a kind of an emotional thing. It's like you're reacting to what you're hearing around you. I've always thought of it as almost like Latin percussion within a backbeat. Because suddenly you're playing 8th notes, 16th notes within a 4/4 beat.
Yeah.
So it's almost kind of like a conga drum or a bongo part, within the groove that you're doing.
Definitely. I can hear that on what's the first song on Basic Glee?
I think it's Everywhere She Goes.
Yeah, that's the one. I love the drum part on that because most of it is the standard Ringo boom, bap, boom, boom, bap.
Right.
But when the fills come in, they're super expressive and very fast.
Well, okay. Well, I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
But, I'm in a slightly different category because I do all these drums without hearing any music.
Okay.
I start all my records, my solo records, with just drums. So I'm singing the song to myself, so it's a little different. But that's enough because I know the song as the person who wrote the song. So I'm singing the song to myself, I'm playing, I'm imagining there's a band playing. And so when I go to do a fill, it's kind of based on, what I think it would be like with a band around me.
When did you start a band? Was the Doughboys the first group that you were in?
That was the first real band. I had a few forays into getting together with schoolmates.
Okay.
But the real first band was the Doughboys. And the guys in the band were much more into kind of the R&B side of rock than I was. I liked it all. I liked the Stones as much as the Beatles. But in my heart, I realized when I started to do my solo thing that I lean more towards the melodic pop. As you said earlier, the Jingle Jangle Rickenbacker thing was very appealing to me.
Yeah.
This band was more like what they call garage rock.
Okay.
They were a pretty good band, and we had a really charismatic lead singer with Mike Scubone, and it was just the era of playing a lot of high school dances, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It just kind of blossomed, and we were very fortunate because we won a battle of the bands on a local television show called Zachary's Disco Team, and that gave us our record deal with Bell Records. That's the first prize. That's how we put out a couple of singles back then.
I was listening to some of those singles, like particularly the song Rhoda Mendelbaum, and it's kind of interesting because you say you were more in the like Stones, Yardbirds, R&B vein.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But like that song is kind of hard to categorize. Like there's harpsichord, but there's like double time sections. There's a lot of interesting ideas thrown at it.
I have to take the credit or the blame. I think more blame than credit for that whole arrangement. I was 14 years old at the time, and nobody was really writing any songs. So we were given these songs by the producer. We heard Rhoda Mendelbaum, and we all went into a total panic. Like, what the hell are we going to do with this? And I came up with that whole 2/4 section going double time. And I'll never forget the first time they played it on TV on Zachary's Disco Team, the record. The kids were dancing along, and then when it got to the 2/4 part, they all panicked and didn't know what to do. And so I said, eesh, I think I made a mistake with that.
Released as a single on Bell Records in 1967, here's a bit of the Doughboys version of Rhoda Mendelbaum.
I guess I was right from the start. I waited to find you gone. Rhoda Mendelbaum, Rhoda Mendelbaum. I look into your eyes and I can tell you what kind of girl whose love was a false alarm, was a false alarm. Makes no difference what your name, babe. Wherever you go, it's always the same, babe. You keep on playing the checker game, babe. And in your mind you think you got it, babe. But you're wrong, 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 wrong. Someday you wake up and find you're slowly going out of your mind. You left all the real things behind. Baby, you're not one of a kind.
But it was just one of those things where you just didn't know any better. We had this opportunity and we didn't have the song, so we just took the song that they gave us to do. And it's just the way things were, when you're that young. If I was a couple of years older, I would have probably had a few originals by then.
Yeah, when did you start writing songs of your own? And were they songs for the Doughboys, or were you sort of doing them for yourself?
I wrote 2 songs for the Doughboys after the singles, but by that time, that was all finished. So I had my first 2 songs, and they weren't very good. And then I didn't really write much after that, and the band kind of dwindled down by the end of the decade. But when I was like 17, I got a piano.
Okay.
And started writing on piano. That's when I started in earnest. When I was in college, I finally started to learn some guitar chords.
Okay.
So that helped me expand my songwriting.
Yeah, it seems like in the 1970s, you were sort of like a journeyman musician. You were sort of moving from state to state and playing with a lot of different acts. Like you played with Link Wray at that time?
Yeah, I moved down to the Washington, D.C. area, Bethesda, Maryland. That's where I met my wife, Nancy. And one of the first things I did was answer an ad Washington Post, and it turned out to be Link Wray.
Oh, wow.
For drummers. So I drove down to Virginia, and I got the gig and started gigging with him. And that was really exciting for me. And at the same time, I started my first group as a guitar player.
Okay.
That band was called The Rage. They never put out any recordings, but we were doing a lot of my originals.
Okay.
So that was kind of a learning experience of, how to write for a band and kind of front the band on the guitar and lead vocal.
Were you sort of also experimenting with recording yourself at the time, or did that come a little bit later?
Well, the problem back then was, there were no real home recordings, so you had to rent studio time, and it was prohibitively expensive to do that.
Yeah.
Every now and then, you'd save up enough money to go in and maybe do 1 song, maybe 2, and that would be a demo. and maybe you'd shop that around. So I kind of went through that whole phase of saving up money, getting one or two songs recorded at a proper studio back then.
The single Vacation, was that part of that? Doing a couple tracks here and there?
Yeah, it was. It was like kind of going to be another demo to shop around. And then we thought, let's just put it out as a single.
Yeah, I like that song a lot. It's got a very skinny tie new wave meets Jan and Dean flavor to it.
That's exactly what it is.
From a single released in 1980 on Flying V Records, this is Vacation.
We've been reading, writing, hypnotizing, it's a new more. We've been listening, learning, till our brains can't take anymore. We've been working so hard, now we finally reach the last day. We're on vacation in the good old US of A. We've been slaving, saving all the money we earn on this leave. We've been planning, scanning all the places we like to see. And now we're off and running. This is one big long holiday. We're on vacation in the good old US of A. Wow! Well, there's a 1, 2, 3, 4 of us going to the beach of our choice. We're gonna sunbathe, swim and play because this is the time to rejoice. And when the moon comes shining, you know we're all going down to the bay. We're on vacation in the good old US of A. Well, love cars, boys, we're gonna cruise to the local hot spot. We're gonna dance, follow band because the band they're supposed to be hot. And when the sun comes up, well, we're gonna do it all just like today. We're on vacation in the good old US of A. We're on vacation in the good old US vacation in the good old US vacation in the good old US of A.
It was just one of the ones that came out better than the others. So I thought, let's just take a chance and put it out. It didn't really do anything, but it was a good start to at least put in my head that you could release your own thing and do kind of a mom and pop type record label. But we put that out ourselves, and then years later I got the idea to do it again.
Okay, and that was the actual size EP?
Yes, exactly. It was after another round of doing demos to major labels. That was the way everybody had to go about trying to secure a record deal. You had to present demos, and they'd usually end up on a cassette. So you'd go in with your cassette and sit in someone's office. There's always this really awkward situation where you'd be sitting there playing it for some record executive, and you have to kind of look like you're really into it, even though you're sick to death of the song by that point. But
I've seen that scene in a lot of like music biopics where it's like the young artist is really hyped up and the guy in the suit is just frowning.
Exactly.
Inscrutable.
Yeah, it was kind of scary. At a certain point, it was like, this sounds good enough to put out. Let's put it out. So that's what actual size was.
And yeah, one of the songs on that first EP caught the ear of Peter Noone.
Mm-hmm.
How did it come about that he heard Hoosier, and how did you come to record the song with him?
Well, we have to skip ahead a little bit to when I put out Living Room, my first full-length album, which, again, Nancy and I put out on our own label. That got reviewed in Rolling Stone. We got a rave review, thankfully, and that led to a record deal with Cypress A&M Records, kind of like a major deal record. And so we jumped at that, and they re-released Living Room. And Peter Noone happened to be on the label at that time.
Okay.
He was on Cypress as a solo artist. So he was looking for material. That's how that all happened. So we got paired together, and I showed him some of my songs, and he liked that one. And it was a real honor and a thrill for me because I grew up in the era of Herman Zarmitz, and he's a fantastic singer. And I remember, like, when I was showing him some of my songs, I said, I kind of have a higher voice. Just my speaking voice is higher than yours. And if you want to lower the keys to any of these songs of mine, feel free. Whatever key is best suited for you. And he had this kind of like attitude of, hey, if you can sing it in that key, I can sing it in that key. It was almost like a challenge. So he did the songs in this higher keys and really knocked it out of the park.
Released in 2000 on an EP called Heyman, Hoosier, and Herman. Here's the Peter Noone version of Hoosier.
Girl, I used to know, yes, you'd like to know her too. A gift of something rare is what she gave to ocean. Somewhere back in time, we justified the strain of love. Now she's hard to find, and she's all I'm thinking of. I kept her off of my mind for so long. A girl so gentle and kind, so how come? Well, I keep thinking I'll find another one when there's no one like her quality so fine. Now I'm sad she's not around. I envy he who finds such a treasure to be found. I kept her off of my mind for so long. A girl so gentle and kind, so how come? Well, I keep thinking I'll find another one when there's no one like
As you say, most of your career you've been sort of an independent DIY, self-distributing artist, but what was it like having that sort of major label machinery behind you at that point?
When I got signed to Cypress, they were determined to re-release Living Room. They wanted it remixed and repackaged. And we fought that tooth and nails because we felt like the record had already been out on our independent label for a year. It had received a lot of press and radio play as well, especially college radio. So we said, why don't you wait on re-releasing that? Let's put out I have material for my next album. I'm ready to go. Let's do that. And they wouldn't do it because they were very taken with the whole Rolling Stone review and they thought they could capitalize on it.
Sure, yeah.
Their machinery.
Here's the leadoff track from 1988's Living Room, called Call Out the Military.
Well, I can go anywhere, invisible as the air. The only thing that you see is what has been put over me. To live underneath the edge, beds placed and no reasons hedged. Existing in non-existing terms to buy while the treasure burns. They can call out the military. All the FBI if necessary. As far as they know, I'm imaginary, yeah. That reputation on a first-name basis. I pull a job, I don't leave any traces. I'm only one of the faces in a crowd. To see and to not be seen. One walks through a twilight dream. While everyone else is coping, we're writing it down, still hoping. While tourists go blindly by, true beauty is left to lie. Like the fools they are, they're sleeping as we go on our midnight creeping. They can call out the military, or the FBI if necessary. As far as they know, I'm imaginary, yeah. That reputation on a first-name basis. I pull a job, I don't leave any traces. I'm only one of the faces in say now I'm imaginary, yeah. That reputation on a first name basis. I pull the job, I don't leave any traces. I'm only one of the faces in a crowd. They can call out the military or the FBI if necessary. As far as they know, I'm imaginary, yeah. That reputation on a first name basis. I pull a job, I don't leave any traces. I'm only one of the faces in a crowd. They can call out the military or the FBI if necessary.
And so they put that out again. And what happened was it got some more airplay and some more reviews. Never took off big or anything, but it got played in New York. And Seymour Stein from Sire Records heard Call Out the Military, the lead-off track, on the radio in New York. He called me at my home and offered me a deal. Said, I really like the song. And I told him the whole situation. Went to his office. They bought out my contract at Cypress, and I'm suddenly on Sire, Warner Brothers.
Label mates with Madonna.
Exactly. So, of course, I'm thrilled and excited.
The Heyman album, I just think it's one of the unsung power pop classics.
Oh, thank you.
I was just reading the liner notes and I saw it was recorded at Ocean Way.
Which used to be called Western.
Yeah.
That's where Pet Sounds was recorded, all the Beach Boys stuff.
Yeah.
For the most part. Mamas and Papas. And
I imagine recording there, you kind of have to not think about all of the great sounds that were made in that room just to be able to do anything.
I just loved being in there. The first day of the record, I started to set up the drums. I thought I should set up right in the middle of the room so that, because I was going to be playing, like I always do, just to a click track, no music. I like the idea of it bouncing off all the walls. And they said, Hal Blaine with the Wrecking Crew used to set up here in the corner. And I said, oh, really? And they said, yeah. I said, all right, let's move them where Hal Blaine had the drums. So that's what I did. So yeah, it was a very exciting experience being there. My issue with that album is we were at Western, called Ocean Way at the time. And I loved the way it sounded there. And every time we'd hear a playback, I was so excited because the drums almost reminded me of Mitch Mitchell's drums on the first two Hendrix albums. It was real ambient sound about the drums that you just don't hear that much in modern records. So I was really looking forward to how this was all going to come out. And then when we finally finished all the tracking, they moved the whole operation to another studio to mix. And as soon as I heard the playback at this other studio, all the magic was gone. Something in that board didn't capture. And then, it's easy to figure out why. It's just a different board, different studio.
Yeah.
And so I was fighting, trying to get the sound back. And I never got it back to how it sounded at Ocean Way. That said, I was happy with the performances and the song choices. So I'm glad you like it. And, like most art, I'm never really happy or satisfied with anything. I do, it's like you start out thinking you're doing Revolver or something, and by the time you're done, it's like, I'm not the Beatles. But you do your best. That's all. I'm not trying to invent the wheel here. It's like I keep trying to just write the perfect pop song. You know what I mean? I'm like in this genre of 60s influence pop music. And it's just really hard to write a good one, and I keep trying every song, I'm trying, and I never feel like I get it, but I just gotta keep trying.
Released as a single from 1991's Heyman, his only release on Sire Records. Here's a song called Falling Away.
There's a cage that's surrounding me, falling away. Pretty soon all my cares will be falling away. Feel these barriers start to go, falling away. 'Cause
like you said earlier, it's almost like a scene from one of these movies where sitting in the office with the executive and, oh, we're going to take care of you. We're going to do a lot of albums with you. And so we did the first album, and it didn't sell 1 million copies, and that was the end of that. So, it's right there in the title, music business.
Yeah.
The business part of it is selling product, and that's what they have to do, obviously, to keep it going. So I understand that. But there's also this kind of, relationship with the artists, and they lead you to believe that they're going to look out for your best interest, but it's really the bottom line
Right.
in the end. I was very disappointed, and I didn't think they handled it very well. They just never called. I just had to find out through the grapevine that they had dropped me. I have a bit of a sour taste as far as a major label experience.
Yeah.
And, one of many who's going through this. But luckily, in the world of the late 80s and early 90s, there was this kind of talk in the air, just put it out on your own label and do the DIY thing. So that's what we did.
Okay.
And what happened was, after the Sire era, I got signed to an upstart label. And I kept waiting for them to get their thing together, and they never got it together, but I was kind of like under contract.
Okay.
And I couldn't do anything for years. And then finally, when that all worked itself out, I put out Cornerstone.
Okay.
But I had the songs all ready to go for Cornerstone way back when I was on Sire.
I see. So it was just like a long kind of
A
delay.
long way. That's why there was, this big gap.
Okay.
So I was signed to this label that never got off the ground. It was, some guys that were in the major labels that were going to start their own company. And they were trying to put it together. And I had to sign a deal with them, but I had to wait for them to get their business together. And it just turned into years.
Here's the title track from Richard's third album, 1998's Cornerstone.
Walking through the town was a building we used to pass each day. The oldest one around, all the walls were worn and the trim turned gray. Thought I'd left for good, but now here I am on this rundown train. The same old neighborhood, but that building's gone, not a thing remains, except for the cornerstone. And it's all I've had, and it's all I know. And the leaves pile high, the cornerstone. Somerset is dead, was the heart of town, now a vacant cold, and written by its head on the granite tomb 1894, upon the cornerstone. And it's all I've had, and it's all I know. And the snow piles high, the cornerstone. Some things in this world we rely upon them to stay the same. And one day when you're old, you realize as you search in vain for that cornerstone.
Could we talk a bit about your wife Nancy's role in your music? Because it seems like for your whole solo career, she's been just sort of a vital part of the process, whether it's her playing bass or engineering the records or just offering like an A&R type, like an extra ear to hear what you're working on.
She basically is co-producing. I mean, she's overseeing the quality of each performance. And by performance, I mean one thing at a time. So once we get the drums, it's like one instrument goes down and then I do a lead vocal. And as I'm doing each part, she's engineering and she's making sure that it's in time and in tune. And if it isn't, I do it again until she's happy. So, that's the deal we have.
Okay.
We have to trust each other. And if she says, no, you got to do this line again, whatever it is, I do it. Because if she's hearing it, I trust her ears. If it was up to me, my whole output would have been like the Shags. It sounded like totally wrong. Because I don't have the patience. I do it because she makes me do it. And so, we get the job done. I mean, we're both kind of end result people.
Okay.
We want the end result to be what we're looking for. We're not that in love with the process. Like the Doughboys, for example, it was all about the process and that it had to be authentic. They wanted to record live in the studio, be able to tell people that we recorded live in the studio. There's a certain integrity. We don't have that kind of integrity. We're like, the end product is what we're trying to get right. And whatever it takes to get to that, that's how we work. So, Nancy makes me do stuff over and over until it's met with her seal of approval. And it works both ways. She may say, that's a good take. And I'll say, I don't like the way I sang that, whatever. So, it's a back and forth process.
And I can sort of hear that on the records where, like, the drum performances are, because they're done first, they've got a lot of this propulsive forward energy. But then on top of it, there's, lots of these, like, creamy layers of guitars and pianos and harmony vocals stacked on each other. And it sounds like, that's a very exacting perfectionist process.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think the drums should be your basic foundation, which, the drum supply, not only the groove, but the general energy level comes from the drums. Once you start building on that, you can do a lot of experimentation, trial and error. And, it's just a certain work ethic you have to get into getting what works. It's not all fun. Nancy and I are at each other's throats sometimes. I mean, the good thing about our relationship is we get really, really hostile in the studio when we're working on stuff with each other. And as soon as we're done, we're back to being a happily married couple. So, it's very intense. That's how we get it done. Two opinionated people trying to get it right. And sometimes Nancy sees things a little different than me, obviously. So we have to negotiate and hopefully come up with the best solution for each thing we do.
Something else that Nancy did was she arranged this reunion of the Doughboys kind of without your knowledge, sort of as a surprise birthday present. What was that whole experience like?
Oh, it was marvelous. I showed up at a club and there they were waiting on stage to play after we hadn't seen each other for a few decades. Got up on stage, started to play, and it was like 1967 again. It's just like...
It all just came back?
It was like a time machine. I mean, the interesting thing was the last time we had played together, we were kids, and I'm thinking, this is the first time as adults and as real seasoned musicians who've been through hell and back. And Mike Caruso, the bass player, is a fantastic bass player. It's kind of cool because all the little tricks that you learn along the way, we've added to our repertoire. So that was kind of a nice feeling.
Yeah.
Really laying down this rhythm section for these old garage rock songs that we used to play in the day, but now we're playing them with that experience and a little more confidence. And that reunion gig turned into a 19-year regrouping.
Which I can't think of any other example. Maybe the Sonics.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
of a garage band from the 60s, just to kind of come back and be kind of better than ever, and definitely a lot more prolific than ever. You put out 5, 6 records?
Yeah, I think we had 6 albums with the Doughboys, and we did a documentary film. We got a lot of attention from Little Steven's Underground Garage.
Yeah.
On Sirius Radio. I think we had like 8 coolest songs in the world. It's kind of very rewarding.
Here are the Doughboys, with a song Richard wrote for their second album, 2010's Act Your Rage, which was named a coolest song in the world by Little Steven's Underground Garage, called Why Can't She See Me?
I might as well crossfade in the night. Her vision of me is white on white. I'm falling like snow against the light. When she goes by, why can't you see me? Go by, why can't you see me? I feel like a shadow in the dark, no more than an overlooked remark, ignored like a beggar in the park. When she goes by, why can't you see me? Go by, why can't you see me? Go by. I can't see there's something wrong, but what can I do when she still moves on? To her I'm like Nina in the Times, not easily seen, a chore to find, unable to read me through the lines. When she goes by, why can't you see me? Go by, why can't you see me? Go by. Can't see there's something wrong, but what can I do when she still moves on? I might as well crossfade in the night. Her vision of me is white on white. I'm falling like snow against the light. When she goes by, why can't you see me? She goes by, why can't you see me? Go 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 by.
Kind of the remarkable thing is that while the Doughboys is coming back and doing this very prolific second act of your career, you're still putting out records as a solo artist, sort of on a parallel track.
Right. Yeah. I had a whole separate conception of pop music than the Doughboys. So, it was like wearing 2 hats. I mean, I love playing drums in the Doughboys, and I got to write for them, which was a challenge and kind of a learning experience of how to write garage rock style songs.
Okay.
Something that I naturally would do. So that was interesting. And then I still got to do my more melodic pop side of things.
Yeah.
I was like incorporating what I was experiencing with the Doughboys more and more into my solo things. So they kind of start to combine a little bit.
I see. On the new record, 67,000 Miles, an album, there's some songs that you wrote for the Doughboys or with them in mind.
Yeah, there's several.
Okay.
I mean, all the songs that I wrote for the Doughboys that appear on 67,000, they released. They were all on different Doughboy albums. Yeah, there's versions of all those songs. What I did is I rewrote a lot of lyrics for those songs before I did my version, and just kind of tried to do the way I kind of heard them in my head as the writer.
Okay. I will say you've kind of always been pretty prolific, but it seems like these last few years you've been kind of on a tear, like 2019's Pop Circles and 2021's Copious Notes, and now the new album. Do you constantly write songs and you're just kind of always working on developing something new? Or do you tend to write more for an end project like an album?
Yeah, the latter. Because like right now I'm in this phase, which I get into after each album is completed and released, it's like, enough. I can't take it anymore. I kind of just want to take a break. There was a point where I, don't want to write another song as long as I live, and I don't want to record. But then, one day I'll just sit down. I mean, right where I'm sitting now in front of the computer is my keyboard. And so every now and then, start just noodling around, and you start noodling and you come up with, something that might be worth demoing. But what happens is once a decision is made, okay, we're going to do another album, working on that, that's when the floodgates for me start to open.
Okay.
I can't help myself. I just kind of start writing songs. It was like with this project, the 67,000, the whole idea started because I had a lot of leftover drum performances of these songs that the Doughboys had done. Not the drums I did for them, but my own. I intended to do my own version a few albums back, and I just didn't have room for them or didn't get to them. So I started this as, okay, this is a chance to do those songs. Traveling Salesman, Second Street, History, there's a bunch of them. Crave, they were all done by the band. And that was going to be this album. But like I said, I'm doing an album, and suddenly I start getting this muse, and I want to write some songs. And if I'm going to write songs now, they usually come out a little more kind of folk rock style, melodic pop, whatever you want to call it. So all those songs on this album that are a little more toward that side of rock are recent songs.
Okay.
With two exceptions. The opening track, the lead-off track, you can tell me, I wrote when I was 17 in the garage of my parents' house back in Plainfield on the piano. And I tried recording it a few times and I never got anything worth putting out. And finally figured out how to do it.
Here's that song, the lead-off track from this year's 67,000 Miles an album, called You Can Tell Me.
Staring out your open window to the steaming street below. Now deserted as the way I feel. There's so much I meant to say here. There's so much I cannot say. But before the morning takes us, let me find a way. You can't tell me that you never meant our world to come astray. You can't tell me that forever till I try to find a way. Come on, let our time alive, for tomorrow will not bring us while the night's alive. By the corner, I can see them closing up as the midnight bus rolls slowly by. There's no one out on the sidewalk, all except the lone gray cat and his neon blinking shadow. How I feel like that. You can't tell me that I always figure someone close behind. You can't tell me that it all stays right beneath the love you'll find. Come on, think it through once more, for the present might seem brighter when you close that door.
incredible to me that you've had a song like that in your back pocket for, a half century.
Yeah, well, there's a lot from that period. Around in the late 60s, I got the piano and was really into Procol Harum and kind of Baroque rock.
Yeah.
The Beach Boys, and of course the Beatles. And I had the piano and I was just really kind of finding myself in, what can I do with my, fingers on this keyboard? And I was starting to write these kind of Baroque-ish rock type things. You Can Tell Me was one of the first ones. And I had like a set of lyrics, but when I went to do it for this album, I rewrote maybe half of the lyrics, kind of tightened them up.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other thing that I've been doing as of late is, like You Can Tell Me was all piano. And I said, what would happen, if I played note for note what I'm playing on piano on the Rickenbacker 12-string?
Okay.
So that's what you're hearing. Is I'm playing exactly the same arpeggios and chord inversions the piano's doing. And it comes out very different than what a guitar naturally would do, because you have to get into these crazy, convoluted stretching of your hands to do what the piano's doing.
Sure. Maybe a less intuitive way of playing guitar, but, definitely a more unique.
Yeah, you would never play the arpeggio of a piano. The notes just don't line up like that on the guitar.
Yeah.
So to do an arpeggio that you did on the piano, you have to note by note figure out, okay, ding, ding, whatever it is, and find it, stretch your fingers to these weird chords. So that's why, a lot of people think they're hearing like a harpsichord sample or something. There's no samples on this album. It's all real stuff. And what you're hearing like on a song like You Can Tell Me and several others is the Rickenbacker 12-string with the piano sort of ghosting behind it.
Okay. So sort of like two instruments becoming like a one.
Yeah, or sometimes three. A lot of times I'll put like maybe a Fender Telecaster with the Rick.
Yeah.
Just to toughen it up slightly. So you're hearing the two guitars playing the exact same part plus the piano. And it creates something that kind of sounds like a harpsichord in a way. I've been doing that more and more.
There's one song on the record, When the New Dawn Comes, which I think is probably my favorite. There's something just very harmonically satisfying about it. It feels complete.
Oh, thank you. That song is a new song that I wrote on piano, and then I didn't have all the parts I needed. So I went back to that old, don't know if it was from the 60s, it might be from that first era of writing on the piano back when I wrote You Can Tell Me. And I took little parts from old songs. So you have the main part of that song, the verse, and then it would go to a little B section, which was one of these old songs that I put in there. And then there's this little set of kind of like jazzy style chords, again, from a very old song. I stuck that in there. It all seemed to hang together somehow. So that's how musically that came about. And then, the whole within the pandemic and post-pandemic or whatever is going on in the world today, creeps into the writing, and you start writing lyrics, hopefully subtly, that gives you that feeling of either hope or despair. And this was more a song of hope. I tried to put a kind of a positive slant on what I've been feeling, what a lot of people have been feeling going through the pandemic and just the political climate. And so you sneak all that stuff in there.
Yeah.
I don't even realize sometimes that's what it is as, I'm writing it. And then you look back and you realize, oh, okay, I see what I did there. But yeah, I'm glad you like that one. I appreciate it. So it's a favorite of mine too.
Another highlight from 67,000 Miles an Album. This is When the New Dawn Comes.
We were at it again in the cold night air as we crashed through the dark filled with deep despair. We lost track of the facts and made up our own. Let's stop digging before these feet are sown. We used to agree to disagree, but maybe we only disagree to agree. And we'll listen as the morning hums when the new dawn comes. When the new dawn comes,
And that's all the time we have for this week's episode. I'd like to thank Richard for agreeing to speak with Stereo Hysteria, with special thanks to Howard Wolfing for coordinating our conversation. For more information about Richard's music, including a sample chapter from his memoir, Boomharang, direct your browsers to richardxheyman.com. Thanks for listening, and be sure to tune in again next time when we'll enjoy a selection of holiday-themed music recorded by some of the artists we've featured on this podcast. This is Charlie, signing off.